Hey. What's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. Also, welcome to my living room, and I'm sorry it's so bright. I do not have lights and I have sun coming in through the back, so just pretend like it's a hallelujah chorus back over here. So today's kind of a weird day because we're going to be bringing my channel full circle, and I have another horrible hairdressing experience to talk to you guys about. I actually have tea because I'm freezing, so if you guys want some tea, grab some tea, pause the video, get some food. This could be a long one. It could also be short, but it might be long. Long story short, I went to a hairdresser who was an absolute nightmare back in between March and September of last year, so it's been going on for like a year. And then I had to get my hair fixed again. So this time I didn't do it in a hurry. I researched on the internet. I listened to people word of mouth wise. I really was trying to look around and find somebody who's good. I found this lady who I thought would be perfect, and she was the owner of this salon slash spa slash beauty store, and I decided to go in there. So I just went in one day just to kind of check it out, just to kind of peruse and see what it was about. And I talked to a few of her employees who were gushing about her. I showed one of them a picture of what I wanted because I had it on my phone, but I also had a physical copy of it. And they were like, oh yeah, she's gonna be able to do exactly what you want. And as I was talking to this person, they were so excited and so pumped up about this lady that they actually drug me over to her to introduce me, get me to know her good English, Kelsey, and just generally see if that was what I wanted to do. She was cutting someone else's hair at the time, but she took a few minutes to look at the picture and be like, yeah, that looks great. And then I was like, okay, cool, I'll make an appointment or whatever. She's like, you know what, actually, do you want to have a consultation? And I was like, that sounds great. So she took time during her lunch to do this consultation thing with me, where she kind of felt my hair and then looked at the picture and talked to me about the colors and everything. Basically, I wanted as close to the picture as she could get. And she was 100% confident and comfortable that she could do that. She was telling me about all the training she'd done in color, because it was a purple. I'll insert the picture here. But basically, yeah, she was telling me oh yeah, this is gonna be no problem. It's gonna be great. Everything's gonna look wonderful. And so I was really pumped, and I was like, awesome. I'm gonna go book an appointment with your receptionist. Thank you for taking time with me at your lunch, whatever. So I go up to the front to book an appointment with the receptionist so that this lady could continue eating. So she comes up behind me and she's like, wait. I can get you in tomorrow. I have a 2-hour cancellation. That should be plenty of time to cut, bleach, and color your hair. And let me just say before we get to the rest of the story that I did say to her, I was like, if you don't have time, I'd rather make an appointment later down the road and come back. And she's like, oh, no, we're gonna have plenty of time. It's gonna be great. So I was like, okay, cool. I trust you. Your reviews were good. Your credentials are good. You seem like a nice lady. You looked at what I wanted. You said you could do it. Let's do it. So I went in the next day, and she put me in a chair. It was great. She offered me tea, coffee while I waited, all that kind of stuff. It was going wonderfully. And then she calls this guy over and tells him, hey, could you go wash your hair? I'm gonna finish up this other cut. So he washes my hair and then puts me back in the chair and has a little towel around my head or whatever, and he offers me tea and coffee again, and I'm like, oh no, I'm whatever. And then I was like, actually, can you bring me water? So he goes and he takes about 15 minutes to bring me back water, which is fine, whatever. I'm grateful to get water. And then I sit there and I sit there and I sit there, and an hour goes by, and the lady finally comes back and she goes, so what do you want? In my mind, I was like, what do you mean, what do I want? But out loud in front of her, I was just like, oh, what we talked about yesterday. And I pulled up the picture again, and I was like, I left you with a physical copy of this picture. She's like, oh yeah, I remember this. It was yesterday. I hope you remember this. Which I realized, people busy, they don't always remember every little detail. So it's okay. So she looks at it for a while, then she looks at me and she goes, let's go pick out the color. And I'm like, what do you mean, let's go pick out the color? And she's like, let's go over to the shop. So we go, me and my little robe with my hair up in the thingy, we walk over to the shop part of the store where people can just buy anything, any unlicensed professional can go in and buy lots of chemicals, that part of the store. And she stands me in front of the color and she goes, well, here are our color selections. What color do you want? And I'm like, well, I wanted this purple. So she picks up the paper and she looks at it, and then she's like, can I see it on your phone? So I hand her my phone, which also is the same picture. She blows it up on my phone. And let me tell you, it was an 8x11 size photo. It was not a little teeny photo. And she looks at it and she goes, okay, so you want a lavender. We'd talked about this already, right? We'd had a full-blown conversation about it. And I go, yeah, lavender. That would be a good description. She goes, I don't have lavender. And I was like, okay, do I need to not finish this appointment? And she goes, well, I can make lavender. And I was like, okay, that's cool, whatever. Because I know people mix, I watch Guy Tang, I know how it works. I know people mix color. So I was like, cool, thinking we're gonna go sit back down and she's gonna make the lavender and everything's gonna be great. Instead, she starts looking at the colors that she has on the shelf and she goes, which ones do you think would make the best lavender? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm the client. I don't know color theory. I know nothing. And she grabs dark blue and silver and goes, oh, I'm gonna mix these. These should make lavender. And I'm like, blue and silver? And she's like, yeah, because the blue has like a violet base and silver is going to lighten that up, so you're going to end up with a purple. And I was like, okay, that sounds fine. So she grabs the dark blue and the silver, and we walk back over to the chair, and she goes, okay, we're gonna go ahead and bleach you out now. So she starts mixing the bleach, and she's like, where do you want it? And I was like, just like wherever you think it needs to go based on the picture I showed you. And she's like, okay. She gets about like a third of the way done, and she calls this other girl over, and she's like, hey, I need you to finish bleaching her. My next client's here. Doesn't say a word to me, leaves. This other girl looks at me and goes, are you getting ombre? And I was like, no. And I showed her the picture, and she looks at it and she goes, well, what you're getting is not what that picture shows. And I was like, yeah, I tried like bringing that up with her, and she seemed to think that this is what would give me the closest results. And she's like, well, if that's what she thinks, like, let's keep doing it. Which I was just like, why are you lying to me? Because I could tell that's not what she thought. She was extremely hesitant to say anything negative about this lady. And she's just like, okay, yeah, sure. Like, if that's what they think, then, like, let's do that. And I was like, oh, man, you gotta be kidding me. So I was like, well, is there even another option at this point? I mean, a third of my head is done. And she's like, no. So she basically just starts copying, like, what's already happening on my head around the rest of my head. And she gets to the end, and she puts everything in foils. And she's like, all right, so I'm sure she'll be back in a few minutes. These appointments are normally half an hour, so, you know, you should see her soon. So she goes off and is working on her own stuff. And the owner comes back over, and she looks at my foils, and she opens one up, and it's been like 15 minutes. And she looks at it, and she goes, good, these look good. I'll be back when they're done. She takes her purse and keys and leaves for 3 hours. I understand people need a lunch. I understand I was being squeezed in. But like 3 hours. 3 hours of sitting there with bleach on my head. Nobody else paid attention to me. I did have one lady at one point be like, do you want a water while you're waiting? And I was like, sure, because like I've been here a long time. This lady gets back, and she comes in, and she puts her stuff down, takes her sweet time, comes over to me, and is like, all right, let's go ahead and wash you out. 3 hours of bleach on my head. I was literally starting to think that I was probably going to start getting dumb from all the like bleach leaking into my skull. I know that's not like a thing, but it felt like a thing. She calls the guy over who originally washed my hair, and she's like, hey, wash her out. Now, little did I know at the time that he was brand new there. He'd never, ever washed anybody's hair besides mine that morning, which is probably why it wasn't, like, the greatest wash I'd ever had. So he goes over, and he's like, do I just rinse it? And she's, like, giving him instructions from across the salon on, like, how to rinse out bleach and, like, all these things. And I was just like, great, like, newbies, wonderful. And I realized, like, some salons, somebody washes your hair, somebody cuts your hair, somebody dries your hair, but that's, like, not how the salon was. Like, how the salon was one person does all your stuff. And she was just calling all these other people who worked for her, but like not for her. They rented their chairs there. I don't know how it works, but they didn't work for her. This was like not a normal thing, because I talked to the girl about it, and she's like, no, she just like overbooked herself. My hair gets rinsed out. He puts me back in the chair with a little towel back on my head again, and I wait for another hour and a half. And during this time, my phone battery dies, so I'm out of things to do. I ask one of the ladies who's like kind of nearby for a magazine. She gives me a magazine. At least I have something to read. She also brings me a hot tea, which was really nice of her. She didn't even ask. She just brought me tea. She like gave me a knowing look and brought me tea. The owner finally comes back over. She takes the little towel off my head and starts like looking at it. And she goes, oh, this is really damaged. Of course it's gonna be damaged. You literally let it sit for 3 hours, and it was not in that great a condition to start with. So she sprays some conditioner in it and starts brushing it out. And then she's like, okay, like what color did you want? What? What do you mean what color did it's literally sitting on the table in front of me, and she's asking what color I wanted. And I'm like, the lavender, like we talked about earlier. I like show her the picture, and it wasn't like a true lavender, it was like a lighter color than that. But I show her the picture, and she's like, oh, right, I remember this. So she goes and she grabs it. She's like, why do I have blue? I don't know. Why do you have blue? It didn't make sense to me in the first place. She grabs the blue, and she's like, oh, yeah, because we're gonna just like put it in the bowl and mix it with the silver, and we're gonna get purple. So the other girl who had bleached the rest of my hair walks by, and she sees what the owner of the shop is doing, and she goes, shouldn't you use purple and just like a clear to like dilute it? And the lady goes, no, because the blue and silver will fade to like a violet purple, and we're not going to tone her hair, so it's going to have a yellow tint in it, so we're going to want to like contrast that. I don't know in what world blue and silver and yellow hair equals light purple, but in her world it did. The owner mixes it all up, sets it down, and like leaves once again without saying anything. And at this point, I had been in the salon most of the day. Like literally, she told me that she had a, you know, small little time gap she was going to fit me in, and instead I had been literally fit in throughout the entire day, which I understand if you're trying to fit somebody in, that's fine, but like you can't leave somebody's bleach on their head for 3 hours. Anyways, the owner mixes the dye, she shows it to me, and she's like, you know, I know it looks dark, but it's gonna definitely rinse out to the color you want it to be. And I'm like, okay, like it hasn't been that great of an experience here so far, but It's okay. She starts to apply it. She applies it to like one strip and she's like, we're gonna make this a test strip. I'll come back in a few minutes and I'll check on it. Another half an hour goes by. She comes back, she wipes it off. She goes, perfect. She shows it to me. It is like a light blue. And I was like, you know, that's like too blue for me. She's like, yeah, you're kind of right. I think I probably should have used the violet. So she goes back over to the shop section of her store and just grabs a violet off the shelf, mixes it with silver, and starts putting that in my hair. Doesn't do a test this time, just slathers it all in there. And I'm like, all right, well, at least it's going to be a purple shade instead of a blue shade. Because, like, I like blue, but I specifically wanted this, like, light purple. That's what I wanted really badly. She gets about a third of the way done and once again is like, oh, I got to go do something. And she leaves and calls over, once again, the girl who bleached my hair to fix it and finish it. And the girl looks at my head and she goes, you know, the way that she's putting this in, you're going to end up kind of being streaky because it's really hard to, like, just put it on the blonde. So what if we put it on the brown all over the hair except for like the roots? Like we'll do like a fade from the roots down so that at least it covers, because it'll wash off the brown, it'll just be in the blonde, it'll be fine. And I was like, okay, like if you think that's gonna be best, because at this point this girl seems to have more logic in her brains than the owner did. Back to the story though, I let her do it and she gets it done and she's like, this has to sit. So she lets it sit literally up until the second that the store is supposed to close, and then she takes me over and rinses my hair out and she's like, I'm sorry, I don't have time to like blow dry you, but the store is closing like right now. And we already have done our cash out and everything, like, you gotta go, I'm sorry. And this whole time the owner hadn't come back over, hadn't talked to her, the lady I booked my appointment with, but she was up at the cash register dealing with the money stuff, which was kind of weird because the other girl had told me they already cashed out, but like she was up there touching the money. I'm suspicious, so I go up there and I'm like, all right, like I need to pay so I can get out of here. And I hadn't even really seen the finished results because literally my hair was still wet. She'd sprayed some detangler in it, but she hadn't even really had time to brush it out thoroughly. And the owner was kind of just like, time to go, like we're shutting up store, you know what I mean? And I was kind of treated as like, when I mentioned, hey, it's not even brushed, she was kind of like, well, you were a fit-in today, you get done, we have time to get done. And I was just like, yeah, but I was here all day. But anyways, so I was like, okay, how much is that? And mind you, in the consultation, I don't know if I mentioned this, but she quoted me $100 to $150 depending on how much color they had to use, right? She goes, it's gonna be $352. $352. Now I understand if I was quoted somewhere around that, or if like the entire day they'd worked on my head, sure, or like if she hadn't screwed up the colors and had to redo them, okay. But no, I asked for an itemized receipt and she had charged me for each bottle of dye she used, even the ones she ended up throwing away because they weren't the right color. Like, that's not my fault, but she charged me for them anyways. She charged me for double the amount of bleach that I think they used, but I don't have proof of that. And she charged me for, like, all this time, like, extra time doing, like, the haircut portion, which, oh, did I even mention the haircut portion? The haircut portion was essentially, they basically just put it in a ponytail and chopped it straight across, like, before they bleached it. That was all they did. They told me they were going to style it afterwards and they didn't have time. So literally I didn't even get a haircut that was like a styled haircut. It was literally put in a ponytail and chopped. I don't know what happens if you don't pay a hair bill, but like I felt like I had to pay it and then I was just going to like leave a bad review and never go back. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. What is the protocol for this? Do you guys know what the protocol is? I have no idea. So I had brought in like 150 cash, so I paid that, and then I had to put the rest on my debit card. So it was like in weird sections and chunks of money. But I paid it, and then I left, and I was highly disgruntled. And as I'm leaving, one of the employees goes, "Oh, it looks just like the picture." No, girl, it didn't. It didn't look just like the picture at all. This is unstyled hair that is still half tangled, not blow dried. Like, how could you tell what it looked like at all? I don't know. They're like trained little minion robots trying to convince you that it was good. So I get home and I blow dry it and I look at it and I literally just wanted to cry. It was dark, dark violet. I'll insert like a screenshot here. Oh, and here's the best part of the story. So after this all happened, I think because she didn't let it sit long enough because of the whole time restraint issues, the dye was gone within a week and I only washed it once. And I washed it like the first day just to try to get some of the darkness out because it was deep and I wanted like pastel. It didn't tone my hair underneath, so it was like the blue/purple color mixed with the silver mixed with the yellow of my hair actually turned it like a funky green color. I don't have any pictures of that, but like my friends can testify. I still wanted color, so I decided to go buy color and just try it myself, experiment. I was like, what's the worst that could happen? So I watched a bunch of tutorial videos and read a bunch of stuff, and the only beauty supply store near me, of course, is her salon. So I go in there, she sees me, And I'm like, yeah, so this is my hair. I had some sass about it, but I also didn't want to be super rude because it is the only beauty store in town, and I knew I was going to have to probably go back there anytime I wanted to buy anything that's not like at Walmart. So I was cordial, but I wasn't like super enthusiastic to see her, you know? And she goes, oh, it's a bit green. And I go, you think it is a bit green? She's like, maybe you should add some, what did she tell me to add? She's like, yellow to it or something crazy. It was like yellow or orange or something. And that should tone it out for you. And then you could add more purple over the top. And I'm just like, girl, no, I'm not doing that. Like, are you crazy? How does she have good reviews? How does she have a client base? How do people support her? I don't understand any of it. But I bought some light, like, pastel purple. I applied it. I left it in for many, many hours, and it came out great. And so I just was, like, so disgusted by the whole thing. And then after this whole situation, I kind of just was, like, dyeing it fun colors on my own for, like, the last 6 months-ish, like, whatever color. I'd go in, I'd pick out my color, I wouldn't even talk to her, I'd buy it, I'd leave. And then I would just dye it at home, and it was coming out really great. It looked really cute. And then one time it was a little splotchy, which I think is because I mixed it with conditioner to try to get that like lavender color, which is what I really wanted because they didn't have the pastel I really wanted there. But I go back to that shop one time and I saw a rose gold, and I was like, oh, that would be really cool. Like, it was a new one. And she also had smoky blue and mint green or something, some weird colors. And so I asked her, because she was there, hey, is this just like one of the regular stick in your hair colors, or what is it? Do you have to add a developer to it? Like, can you tell me more about this product? And she goes, no, she's like, all the other ones you've been buying, because she did see what I had been buying some of the time. You just put it in your hair and let it sit and rinse it out, and you should get the color. And I was like, awesome, that sounds really great, whatever. And you have to realize when you go to these beauty supply places that there are often not instructions on the actual box because they expect whoever's buying it to know what they're doing. So like, in a way, yes, I'm guilty of not having instructions and not being qualified to use it. However, I thought it was just the slop in your hair color like everything else I've been using. So I took that home, put it in my hair, let it sit all day, found out it was actually a toner that was rose gold color, and it fried the crap out of my hair. And so now I have hair that is horribly fried, and I'm just refusing to do business at her store anymore because I know that last one wasn't like 100% her fault, but it kind of was still like wrong information. Like, still kind of her fault. So that's what I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for drinking some tea with me. Well, if you did, or eating with me, or just hanging out with me. Starting on Sunday, I'm going to be posting every single day for Vlogtober. And it's going to be a scary content video every day. So hopefully you guys are going to be joining me every day for that. So if you are not subscribed, definitely subscribe so you don't miss out for that. I'm really excited. I'm already shooting videos for it. It's exciting times. Leave me a comment down below telling me your worst beauty experience. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!